Hi, I'm Bart Hanson, the owner and operator of CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the phone number in the description.
We got a 2-5-1000 cat hand.
From Tampa?
Yeah.
So is that a
The
Hard
Hard
Rock
Rock.
Tampa? That's a Hard Rock, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool.
And we're 600 effective.
600 effective, okay.
Yeah. And I have like a good winning image, but I've been like really active like the past 3 orbits or so, like winning a lot of pots without going to showdown.
Okay.
And so we're going to open raise here in middle position with red 8.
8 of diamonds, 8 of hearts from MP1 to how much?
20. Oh, sorry.
To 20?
Yep. And so we got one guy call on our left.
Okay.
The small blind calls and the big blind folds.
Small blind calls. So you're in the middle, small blind calls, and the guy to your left calls. So we're looking at about maybe 65 to the flop.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the flop is king of spades, 7 of spades, 5 of diamonds.
King of spades, 7 spades, 5 of diamonds. You've got 2 red 8s. Okay.
And so small blind, he's like passive OMC type.
Okay.
And he kind of, I'm getting the feeling that he kind of thinks I'm full of shit and he'll call me down late.
Okay.
So he checks, and for the reasons I just mentioned, I bet. And if it was a rainbow board, I'd be more likely to check this, but I've been pretty active, so I think I could get called by worse here.
So how much did you
And
bet?
also bet my equity, 30.
So you bet about half the size of the pot, multi with 8s. I think that that's fine. I think that like if you had like queens or jacks, it becomes more of a check, but 8s needs a little bit of equity protection, obviously. And you probably still fair to have the best hand here. There's some turn cards that you can pick up equity. There's some value to gaining position, so I don't mind the bet.
Yeah, and so the guy on my left folds and the small
Okay.
blind calls.
So that's what you want,
And-
small blind calls. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was I thinking? Yeah, so this kind of board, trying to like improve my game, like when we have like a pocket pair and we have one overpair to the board.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, I feel like if we're betting every time it's a mistake, if we're checking every time it's a mistake.
Sure, it's like a
And,
mix,
like,
right?
And
Yeah.
I'm not like really one for balance, especially at this level, but like, how do you approach this in general?
Well, I mean, like I said, like in this particular case, I think the lower your pair is, the better probably it is to make a bet here for a little bit of equity protection. One of the things, I really think I've improved as a player drastically over the last 6 to 12 months, and really one of the main factors is paying attention to configuration. I mean, first of all, cleaning up pre-flop and paying attention to configuration. So, and just trying to figure out like what a range is from a certain position. Now, I don't know who this small blind is, but small blind should be relatively tight here when they call pre, and then when they call the flop. But I still think I've got no problem with the bet. Like I said, I would approach this as maybe, the wetter the board, the more I would bet for protection. The lower your overpair is, the more I would bet for protection. So yeah, I'd bet 8s, and I'd probably check a fair amount of queens and jacks on like a dry board or something like that,
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So so the turn's a 6 of clubs.
Okay, so now you're open-ended.
So right. And he checks again. And I decided to check here because I think he's never folding a king.
Sure.
And I feel like if we bet again, it's as a bluff, and we're kind of forced to triple barrel some rivers, if not.
Yeah, I mean,
all rivers, really.
this is sort of similar to that hand that Brandon called in earlier, where it doesn't really make sense to bet once here, I don't think. I think it's probably bet, or just check. And I would lean towards checking here. I think that the small blind's range, again, because he's tight, is probably a little bit more apt to be, a little bit king heavy. If he did call with one of those middling cards, I mean, he really shouldn't have a lot of suited connectors and stuff out of the small blind. So, yeah, he could have spades. I mean, I get that, but I would tend to check here too.
Okay. Yeah, so I checked behind,
Uh-huh.
and the river is an eight of spades, and he checks again,
So
and
the river's an eight of spades. You make a set, but a front door flush
yeah,
comes in, right?
yeah, and the four liner.
Right. Okay.
So
And
we
he
have to
checks.
value bet this, right?
I'd say so because the thing is that when he checks the river on a one liner here, I think we can almost always dismiss the fact that he ever has a flush. Okay. Um,
Right.
because people aren't going to check. I mean, I've seen people check flushes and stuff, but he's got to be really bad to like check a flush here because you're just not going to bet after checking back the turn.
Yeah,
So
I think maybe the ace high flush, but I agree. I agree. He's probably betting a flush here.
I mean, he should be betting all his flushes here. So the thing is that what do we lose to here? We lose to a nine, and it's sort of tough for him to have a nine. I mean, I guess he could have see nine eight.
King nine suited.
Well, yeah, he could have king nine suited. I guess from the small blind. I think that's a little bit loose. Nine eight, you block a lot of the eights. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm trying to think. And the other half of this straight would be a four. But again, like it's a pretty light call for him to have like pocket fours or four or five. I mean, I guess it's
Right.
possible he could have like. I mean, he can't really have a backdoor with four or five if you said it was king of spades, seven of spades, five of diamonds. But I would definitely bet here. I would bet here, especially with the front door flush coming in. I think you're going to get looked up by a king here sometimes because your bet is somewhat. People just don't buy that people will bet thinly here. So I would bet, and I might bet like 90 or 100 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, and I thought well, larger sizing was definitely the way to go because like you like to talk about, you might not understand what polarizing means, but
Sure.
like subconsciously,
Yeah.
he thinks I'm polarized here. So I actually overbet the pot. I
Okay.
bet 150.
Yeah.
Bet
I mean, I like
easily.
that because the thing is that I have no problem with that, and I do think the difference here between a spade coming in and non-spade coming in is that you have some bluffs here that you'll get called down. Like you have some bluffs where people might call you down because they think you're trying to like steal the pot from them or something like that. I guess the same thing could be
Right.
said on an offsuit eight though too. If maybe they think you have a flush draw and you're trying to buy it and you're polarized with a nine. So anyway, so you bet 150.
Yeah, and he thinks about it for a while, and he ends up folding, which is, if he did have a king, I guess it's kind of a mistake in sizing, but
I
he,
don't know, man. I
I
don't
was
think he
really
has got a
thinking
king.
he'd call the king
Yeah, it's
here.
interesting what he would have here, but again, that's another new thing that I picked up is that if you want to make yourself look polarized, whether it's a bluff, I mean, I guess you can exploitably value bet down just to get called. But if you think that the best spot to make yourself polarized for value or for a bluff in a certain situation it is to size more,
Right.
especially with a bluff because you're going to give your opponent a worse price. But that's interesting. So you never found out what he had?
No, I mean, I'm assuming it's got to be some like pocket tens, pocket jacks. I mean,
Yeah,
those
I
seem
don't
like
know
the
if
most
the guy.
reasonable names.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the spade might scare him off here a little bit. So maybe actually in retrospect, maybe an offsuit eight might have been a little bit better. But it's definitely a value bet. And if he is folding some kings because the front door spade comes in, then maybe you size down in retrospect when I look at it. But it's interesting. I think it's definitely a value bet for sure. So I don't think you did
Okay.
anything wrong. It's just a question of the optimal sizing at the end.
Right, right.
All right, man. Thanks for the call.
All right, man.
All
Thanks.
right, take it easy. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA100. Click on the link right there.